of Hope is essential reading for seekers of inspiration and spiritual empowerment. This series offers nourishment for those on a path of increased awareness at this challenging time. Inspired by higher sources of wisdom, Chronicles of Hope delivers messages to lift your spirit with a roadmap of hope and guidelines for living a life of expanded consciousness. The guides offer powerful insight for mental, emotional, and spiritual growth at this critical tipping point for humanity. The message is clear. We must change. We have the power to raise our vibrational energy individually and collectively before it's too late. I am Lois Herman, author of the best-selling Chronicles of Hope series and host of the Inspiring Hope radio show at WSMN.live or 95.3 FM. You can find me at loisherman.com or chroniclesofhope.net.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Welcome to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman, a leading expert in professional coaching, clinical hypnosis, and energy clearing. Lois is an award-winning author of Chronicles of Hope. She has decades of experience in advanced hypnosis techniques, has conducted highly effective success coaching programs that have helped clients discover ways to achieve success, empower themselves, their families, as well as holistic practitioners to expand their practices. Get ready to be empowered with your host, Lois Herman.
Good morning and welcome to Inspiring Hope. I am your host, Lois Herman, and I'm here to inspire you with positive messages and celebrate people who are making a difference in our world when we focus our thoughts and energies on truth, honesty, and integrity. We create powerful shifts that cause us to be more positive and peaceful. As we lift our energy, we empower everyone around us. If we each do what we can to make small shifts in awareness, we create ripples of hope. Join us as catalysts for positive change for our families, our communities, and our world at large. I hope you're inspired by today's show. And today I would like to wish you a happy Thanksgiving week. What are you grateful for this year? This is a time to express gratitude for all things large and small. As we share gratitude from our hearts, we lift our vibrational energy, which makes us feel better on so many levels. And many people only see the darkness, fear, and pain brought on by the events of this year, which makes perfect sense. When we shift our focus, though, to be positive, we brighten the shadow, notice the silver lining, and amplify the goodness all around us. Remember, whatever we water in our garden of life grows. So do we choose to water the lovely blossoms or the angry weeds? In recent years, people have moved away from religious practices for different reasons. In so doing, many have lost out on the importance in the power of prayer, of asking and expressing gratitude. We are communal beings and thrive on being connected with one another as well as to higher sources of wisdom. Prayer should be an invitation to commune with helpful energies of our own choosing, whose connection should be comforting, loving, and above all, positive. It could be Jesus, Sai Baba, Mother Gaia, Great Spirit, Holy Spirit. When we choose how to pray, we assist in our own spiritual health and growth. There are so many forms of prayer, from simple meditation to chanting or singing or drumming, or even dreaming or dancing. Whether we vocalize our thoughts out loud or have a quiet conversation in our mind, it need never be robotic or memorized. Spiritual connection can be as simple as a mindful walk in the woods, thanking nature for the air we breathe, acknowledging the trees that give us oxygen, and appreciating the birds who share their sweet songs. When we reconnect with the power of prayer in our own way, we feel less alone, more safe, and experience magical and miraculous healing. Expressing gratitude lifts our energy, creates stronger immune systems, and helps us to sleep more soundly. Embracing connection with and appreciating nature is one of the strongest themes emphasized in the teachings of the collective. As we make a practice of shining the light of gratitude, we can even find goodness in the challenging situations or people as we work to shift our energy to be more positive. Every minute of every day, we are gifted with the opportunity to choose again. When people frustrate or disappoint us, realize it's really their challenge. Send them a prayer and make a new choice. When we ruminate over situations or people, it keeps us stuck in the muck of negativity. As we get out of our own stubborn way, there are always new choices to make that can take us down some magical paths, leading to hope in a brighter outcome. Remember, when one door closes, look for the window of opportunity that is standing wide open. Push down the barriers and move right on through. Thanksgiving gratitude should be practiced every day. Most people have lost the practice of prayer or the ability to share gratitude. As a child, we always said grace before meals and prayers at bedtime. Of course, they were usually routine and memorized, so we often lost the true meaning. When we take a moment to say a blessing over our food, it actually shifts the molecular structure of the food to make it healthier for our bodies. Dr. Emoto proved that. When we say a prayer of gratitude for those who have been there for us during the day, it sends them positive energy. And as we ask for protection before bedtime, we sleep more soundly, peacefully, and wake in the morning refreshed. As we start each day with the intention of being of service to someone with peace and joy, we set an uplifting tone for the entire day. In this era of such pain, fear, and division, it is especially important to find something to be grateful for each day. As we discover the manipulation and deceit of people in positions of influence, we feel disappointed, betrayed, or even angry. Realize this is actually nothing new. Morally corrupt people have been doing horrific things to innocent ones for many, many years. The deception is truly being revealed, and we are seeing the dark truth behind the illusion. Instead of looking the other way in despair or wanting our world to return to the way it used to be, we can face the truth head on and choose to make a difference using the power of prayer. By sending love and light to our family, our friends, and the courageous ones who are speaking out that need our help, we can help to change the ultimate outcome. We can also send secret vibes of positive energy to those who are so stuck in their muck or filled with intense hatred to help them gently wake up, unshackle their bonds, and ultimately see their way to a new path of integrity. In the Chronicles of Hope series, the Anquietas told us, if you want to put the world in a positive healing place, remember this. The act of wanting something generates feelings of want, which is negative, adding to the problem. Believe positively that things are better or are on the road to improvement. This thinking creates positive energy. There is a difference between wanting, believing, and knowing. Knowing is the best, the strongest. Knowing how the world should be generates the strongest positive force. Do uplifting activities and simple things that create joy in your life, and think positive, grateful, and hopeful thoughts while doing them. So what are you doing to generate positive force? You could actually join us in our 8 at 8 Universal Prayer for Peace. Every day, spend 1 to 8 minutes at 8 a.m. or p.m. or both, wherever you are, to send prayer, light, love, gratitude, compassion, hope, and positive energy to whomever comes to your heart and mind. Together we will create small ripples of hope in this large pond of humanity. Help us send a wave of prayer-filled light that will traverse the world in a continuous cycle. Together, we can and will make a difference for ourselves, our families, our countries, and our world. You are listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman at WSMN 1590.live or 95.3 FM. Please share these messages, watch the videos on our Lois Herman Associates YouTube channel or loisherman.com website, and join our community at chroniclesofhope.net. Enjoy this lovely Thanksgiving song by the Petersons.
Funny how this all looks different, but it feels the same. Like how life never stops changing, but some things never change. So fill your plate and fill your drink and fill this house with family, the kind of love that all these years can't wash away. 'Cause the older that I get, I see that life is short and bittersweet. Thank God for this Thanksgiving Day. Watching football, watching families grow, the old kids' table all have kids of their own, starting to see my grandfather in my nephew's eyes. Mom still can't talk about him and not almost cry. So fill your plate and fill your drink and fill this house with family, the kind of love 1,000 miles can't wash away. 'Cause the older that I get, I see that life is short and bittersweet. Thank God for this Thanksgiving Day.
What a great family. Today I am delighted to be joined by Reverend Shirley Bloethe, entrepreneur, business owner, holistic community organizer, and associate minister at the Love and Light Spiritualist Church. We welcome you, Shirley, to share your own insight on gathering gratitude. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. So happy to be here with you.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
happy
we have
to.
a long name. We have a very long name with our church. It takes a few minutes just to spill it all out.
But and it's perfect. Love and Light. What a
Right?
better that couldn't be a better name for that church. Yes.
I
that
love
is-
it.
is.
Yeah.
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 So tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you've been through quite a bunch of muck in your life, right? And
Oh,
you've risen
yeah.
above and you're shining your light ever stronger.
Well, is there a choice?
Oh, yes, there is a choice. Yes.
Yeah, I guess there is. I guess I never thought there was a choice other than to rise above it. So
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of where I come from, and I had a belief. Oh man, I'm going to tell you, it was probably when I was a kid, and even though I probably wasn't really cognizant of it until later in life, I just always believed that God would never give me more than I could handle.
Mm-hmm.
So if something came my way, I was just in the frame of mind that, okay, well, I've got to get through this too, So I kind of always had a very positive attitude about life in general and welcome change. I know a lot of people don't like change, and for me, I welcome change. And I think part of it was because I had been through some really rough stuff, and I thought, well, something on the other side's got to be better than this. So in that regard, I welcomed change. But I'm always one of those people who's like trying to peek around the corner, looking for the next interesting thing that happens in life. So I guess that's probably part of it, is that feeling of, I'm going to say, not just a knowing, not just a belief, but a knowing that everything's going to be okay. And that's one of my favorite sayings that someone shared about, I'm going to say 2 or 3 years ago, maybe even 4 years ago now, that I heard at a meeting. Their acronym for fear was forgetting everything's all right. And that's, for me, been a mantra lately, last few years anyways, that, what, no matter what we're going through, everything's going to be all right. Like, we're going to figure this out. I'm going to figure out how I want to live, but other people can too.
It's a great illusion. We're living through the illusion. We're
Right?
peering under the veil. All this that we've had our eyes closed for so long, based on
Yeah.
what we perceived was everything. Oh, everything is just beautiful. Well, it is if we create it, but under the surface, there's been some shadow for a long time, and we're just now. It's all being exposed.
Yes. And
So,
I honestly, until a couple of years ago, I really didn't even believe in what other people call evil.
mm,
I just always thought, no, there's people who do bad things. I'm
mm-hmm.
not going to say there's not that, but I just really didn't believe in that, or the nasties, that exist. But now
Yes,
I do. I
yeah,
wish I didn't, but once you know something, you can't unknow it. So but it's also something again that can be overcome
mm-hmm.
with positive thought, inspiration, prayer, meditation. There's lots and lots of action. I mean, this is an action world, right?
Yes.
So there are actions that you can take in many areas of life that can bring about change. And sometimes that's what it takes, is someone to kind of look at, go, whoa, this is not what I want, and make the change,
And
and maybe start the change. It does take only one person. So who's to say who's not that one person?
and then just to start the ball rolling, and then somebody else will
It
say,
does.
"Hey, let me join in with you." And that's been kind of the whole process with the Chronicles. Even though people have come and have gone, there more people come and, oh, I want to be a part of, and you've done that through your business. I mean, you've resurrected. I mean, what you had told me is you've built several businesses, and only to watch them shift and change, whereas other
Yep.
people would have been devastated because something happened outside of
Yeah.
your circumstances. But you always seem to be like the phoenix, right?
You know what? Out of the fire, right? So, it interestingly enough, was a fire.
Yeah.
So twice, had those experiences where, I mean, the one business that I had, the wellness center, was literally in flames, and
Wow.
went up in flames. And I'm still sitting with the residue of that building. However, now some things are starting to shift where it looks like we might build that back into a wellness center using a co-op
Hmm.
concept, instead of me doing everything, so to
Right.
speak.
Yeah.
So yeah, things have shifted and changed, and it's true, when one door closes, a window opens.
Mm-hmm.
I think I just look at it and say, okay, so what am I supposed to see here, or what am I not seeing yet? And I believe too that everything happens for you,
Mm-hmm.
not to you or against you or because of you, but everything happens for you. So what are you going to learn for that happenstance that's going to move you maybe take a left, take a right, go in a different direction, turn around and look back. Maybe there's something there. There's always a choice. And so I think that's one of the reasons why I kind of do what I do. I mean, I never say die, I guess. I'm just one of those people who just, no matter what happens, I just don't stop.
And
I don't know. I believe that's God given. So I'm not going to say I take a lot of credit for it. I do believe that that's something that I carry with me, because I believe that it was given to me as a gift.
as a way shower, you're here to pave paths and show other people how to rise above
Right.
adversity, instead of getting stuck in the pain of it. Because there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of pain out there now. But people who get stuck in it, their energy just keeps dropping, dropping, dropping. We have to look beyond and say, what am I learning from this? What is
Yeah.
it that I need to know? What new choice can I make based on what I am now learning?
And in the last 10 years, so in 40 days, I actually lost my nephew, my dad, and my business in
Wow.
40 days. So that was pretty devastating. And I was not in a place to rebuild the business at that point. A couple of years passed, and I did start something else. It came my way, and I said, you know what? I think I'll just do this for now. And then, that shifted and changed, and I lost that location, the physical location, moved to another location, and then when my husband passed, I just looked at everything and I said, you know what? I don't even want a location anymore. Like, I shifted again, and I thought, I'm not going to do it. So I've been renting, because I do holistic events. So I can rent anywhere. I can rent in a hotel. I can rent in a VFW. I can rent in a hall that, someone has, like what I had. I had a hall rental. So, I shifted again there. But I think the devastating blow for me was when my daughter passed, because even though I got rid of the physical and I was still doing the events, there's nothing, I don't think, I mean, it's just my perspective, there's nothing more devastating than losing a child, no matter what the age of that child is. And that really flips you upside down. And of course, it still does. It's only been a couple of years. And I know that she's still present in many ways. But I also know that when something like that happens, it changes everything about how you view life. And it's such a hard grief travel that, it can be shared. Thankfully, there's other people who I share this with. And that gives me hope. I know other people that have lost children years ago. And knowing that they're still around and they're still doing things every day and they're still living their lives made me understand, even when it happened, that I will get through this and I will work through this and I will, cry a lot and do all the normal things that people do when they grieve. But I'm also not going to make it stop my life, crawl under the covers and not come out. Like, I know that happens to people, that they just really don't do life anymore, and that's just not how I'm made.
And she wouldn't want you to either. She would want you to keep going.
She wants me to write a book. So I'm like, oh boy. She was the writer, not me. But
well, maybe you get
to channel that.
That's exactly right. Maybe you need to channel her. Say, okay, I'm going to sit here with a blank pad or Word doc, and you tell me what you want to say, dear. Okay.
Exactly.
Let me be the conduit. That's kind of what I did with the Chronicles. It was like it was channeled information. I was just the messenger, and blown away by this stuff that came through. Even when I wrote the reflections, I usually did it at 3 a.m, and I would wake up and I'd hear them say it's time to write, and I would get up and I would start writing, and then the next morning I would write for maybe 2 hours, go back to bed, get up and start my day. And when I would look at him, like, wow, that's pretty profound. Where did that come from?
I do get my stuff in the middle of the night too sometimes.
Yes.
So I can understand that.
Yeah.
And you know what? You can't decide when that happens.
No.
I think it just happens.
No.
So
Exactly.
I'm sure at some point when I allow myself the time to just do that, it will start to come about.
Wintertime is a great time for that because it's dark, the darker longer. It's a great time to kind of go within in that cocoon and allow the spirit to move through. Yeah.
And I liked when I was reading through the Chronicles, I'm about 3/4 of the way through book 1.
Okay.
There's a bunch of concepts there that really make my head spin.
You think?
I've always believed in the omnipotent God and all that. But I liked what you said in your opening monologue about the wanting, the believing, and the knowing, and how innately different they really are. That wanting does stay in the negative, because it's always a need then, right? And then, but believing, which is a great thing, believe me, it's a great thing. But then knowing, right? Because how I always said, I always knew that God would not abandon me, that I would be okay no matter what. Like I would never get more than I could handle. That is a knowing. And there's a power in that, I think, that
absolutely
supersedes all the others,
Yes.
And there are plenty of times, don't get me wrong, I've been pretty negative and I've had some rough stuff that I've gone through. I mean, I've been divorced, and that was a really, challenging marriage. And a lot of other things, of course. Nobody gets out of here alive in not getting any kinds of problems. I mean, life is about, on some levels, struggling through and then getting to the other side of things. And I think that's how life is supposed to be, as it's somewhat alluded to in the book, right?
Right.
So that struggle is part of how we become what's next. And
it's
so,
part of the growth. I mean,
right.
if you think of just a
No,
seed in the ground, it has to really push through in order to grow. I mean, it takes a
right.
lot of effort for that little seed to push through and to grow into whatever beautiful plant it's destined to be. And that's what we
Yes.
have to do. We can't just say, I always like to use that stuck in the muck. We get stuck in that garden and we don't push through. And then, so therefore, we never grow. And
Right.
we
And I
have
think
to.
that's one of the messages is that struggle is part of this,
Mm.
but it doesn't have to be painful.
When we call on our guides, our resources, on God, on
They bring us.
Jesus, they're
Yeah.
the ones that take away the pain.
Right.
This is part of that prayer and the asking. When we
Yeah.
ask them to support us, it's kind of like a parent with a child. Just if you just ask, I'm happy to help. But
Right.
the child is stubborn, parent's stubborn, and nobody gets the help we need. So what I have learned is these angelic beings, these helpers, the God consciousness, they want to help us, but they cannot interfere with our free will. So
Right.
we call it
You
prayer.
have to ask.
We have to. It's the asking and the thanking. They go hand in
Yeah.
hand. When we ask, and then when those little God winks and those little miracles happen, we have to say thank you, thank you. Oh my gosh! When we acknowledge it, then more happens.
Even more happens.
Yes.
That's right. And I think that's why gratitude is a feeling. It's not a decision as much as it is, again, a knowing that I live in gratitude. I want to stay in gratitude as often as I can. I mean, I'm making a conscious decision, not that I'm not, but that there's also, it's more of a feeling of, I just have gratitude. Like, as much as what I've been through and what the things that have happened to me, I'm not unique in that.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of people who have been through a lot of similar things, and not to discount any of that, but to also say we can all do this.
Yes.
Every single person has the ability, if they will ask and then have gratitude for what is received. Because I think there's always that choice of, number one, asking, and you know what, if it's meant to be, it's going to happen. It's not even a question, right?
Right.
Asking it is given. And then, but to have the gratitude and be grateful for, the messages and the help that comes your way is also part of, keeping the train rolling, so to speak,
And the gratitude is the
keeps it on track.
acknowledgement part, because it's
Right.
ask, receive, believe. So we ask, but so many people, prayer is one-sided. It's just like they pray, but they don't stop to listen, to notice, to acknowledge the answers that come in a variety of different ways. And when we pause and we receive the answer, that's when those little God winks happen. It's like, oh, when we notice, then we acknowledge through gratitude. But if we just keep barreling along saying, God never answers my prayers, that's because you didn't really stop to notice.
You haven't been paying attention.
You got it.
Well, and that's, some of that is like meditation. Like, I used to have a real hard time with meditation in the past because I had a preconceived idea that it was, like the Zen thing,
Right.
that, going to be a Buddha. And, I had to quiet my mind. And, well, guess what? This mind doesn't quiet.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to learn other ways and other techniques
Yes.
to use for me to go into what I call my meditation.
That's
and so I have my own meditation, which basically is, and I do it every morning before I even get out of bed.
Yep.
I will lay there and I will keep my eyes closed. And certainly in the springtime or sometimes late in the fall when the windows and doors are still open in my house, I love to just listen to the birds in the morning. So I'll focus on the birds, but I'll also focus on any of the outside noises or even if there's noises in the house. Houses make noise, right?
Yeah.
So, the fan kicks on, the heat kicks on, the AC kicks on, whatever those noises are, I kick on into a focus of those noises. And I allow those noises to be part of my meditation. And that allows me to then have other thoughts that come to me, and either they pass through me like a cloud, or they are something that does make sense to me. And sometimes I literally, I always have a pen and pad next to my bed anyways. I'll write it down and then I'll go back and just do the listening. So I'm literally listening to the sounds around me and allowing that to be my meditation. Whereas instead, years ago, I was thinking I was doing it wrong. I could never meditate, I would say, because I was trying to quiet everything. There's no such thing.
No.
The mind is always busy.
Right.
And so what to do is work with it. And so that's really been my go-to meditation for years now, where I feel like that is when I get answers. That is when, I'm praying, but I'm getting answers when I'm doing meditation. And then I'm thanking the messages that I get. I'm thanking the being and the whoever I feel like I'm getting the messages from. I will be thankful for that then. And so for me, that has been working like a charm for years now. And
That's
I love it because I
beautiful.
can do it anywhere except in my car driving. I can literally
I don't know. I find that driving is one of the wonderful places that I meditate, believe it or not.
Oh, no, but I don't close my eyes.
No, exactly. Thank you.
Oh, no, I do it when I'm driving all the time.
Yeah, especially on those long stretches where the car is actually driving. You're just kind of steering the wheel.
Exactly.
But that's, again.
No, I love to drive because I find it meditative, too. I never turn the radio on ever anymore.
Never. And
I haven't for years,
Unless it's a road trip and I'm listening to some of my old CDs because my car still has a CD player. And I love some of my Dan Fogelberg,
Yeah.
Those oldie goodies.
Got a really old car. Mine's got a cassette player in it.
Yeah. Good for you. Those, you should charge extra for that when you go to sell it. But I do the same thing when in the morning before I get out of bed. I lay there and I, like you, I listen, and I also allow thoughts to come in. I pay attention to the thoughts. And if I'm thinking about my son, for instance, I will just sit there and his thought came into me about him. I'll send him a prayer. I'll send him love. I'll send him whoever pops into my mind is my subconscious or superconscious saying, this person might need
it's important.
Need love. And love is just like thinking of a happy thought and sending it to them. All this, being raised where we had these routine prayers that we prayed that had no meaning. When you sit back and look at the actual words, the words are very powerful. It's just we get into this routine, just recitation, which is meaningless. But when we just have those spontaneous thoughts and smells and sounds and get into the moment, that's true meditation. That's true prayer.
Yeah, and one of them, when you were mentioning that, like this morning, I was thinking of my friend Tony. It's the husband of a good friend of mine. It's her son-in-law, who ended up in the hospital last night briefly with COVID, and he's just having a real hard time. He can't keep anything down. So, I sent him a prayer this morning.
Yes.
And I'll check in with them later today and see how he's doing back home. He didn't stay long there, thankfully. But, the whole family has it except one of the daughters. So the kids aren't having a really hard time. The wife isn't having as hard of a time, but the husband was.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm concerned. So like those thoughts come to you and then you send them love and you send them healing if you can, you send them a prayer. But one of the things that I found interesting years ago too was that I can sometimes use some of those prayers that I learned long ago, like the Our Father or the Serenity Prayer. It's a perfect one. You break it down and use parts of it as a mantra.
Yes.
So God grant me the serenity. God grant me the serenity. God grant me the serenity. Just saying it over and over and over again is also another way that I can bring myself to a place where I'm kind of asking, but also knowing that that's going to happen.
And that's another form of meditation. That's basically you're putting your mind in a meditative state. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So kind of like a mantra meditation.
And
I'm going to call it.
Speaking of mantra, we were talking about many people sabotage themselves. They're constantly saying negative things and they don't realize it. I often will point out that the subconscious mind does not know the word not. Don't think about COVID. You have to think about it. Don't think about, Thanksgiving this week. So people will say, I don't want to be anxious. The subconscious mind hears, be anxious, be anxious, be anxious. So we have to pay attention to what we say to ourselves. And you had a beautiful example of that.
I did. Oh my gosh. And I know she's not listening to the radio because she's on her way to church too.
You don't have to say who it was.
She would know if she heard this.
Okay.
So a friend of mine lived with me for a while, and we've been friends since we were about 12, and we're still good friends. Here it is, 55 years later,
Wow.
whatever it is. And she lived with me for a while, and we shared the same bathroom. And she would walk into the bathroom, look in the mirror, and go, "Oh my God, I look like," and she would say that out loud. And finally, like 2 or 3 days passed, and I finally said to her, "I'm like, hey," I says, "do you realize what you're doing every morning?" And she goes, "What are you talking about?" Like, she had no concept that she was doing that every single morning and saying that to herself out loud. And it literally shocked her, because she really wasn't even conscious of it,
No.
that she had been doing this every day of her life in the morning when she woke up. I'm like, what a way to start the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
To look in the mirror and say that about yourself. And I said, I don't like you talking that way about my friend,
Exactly. I
And
often will say to people, would you say those things that you say to yourself to your friend? No.
Right.
We often
No,
beat
of course
ourselves
not.
up far worse than we would ever say to anybody
Yeah.
else.
I just, she never did it again, thankfully.
Nice.
And she was so aware of it that to this day, she still talks about it at
Yeah.
times. That it was just such an eye opener, because one of the things I say to a lot of people is, thoughts are things.
Yes.
They are the most important things sometimes, because what you're telling yourself, or your self dialogue, is so important. I mean, Louise Hay had changed millions of people's lives using her affirmations, right?
Right.
And so you look at that and you go, I mean, I did affirmations for years, since the 80s, because I really believed that what she was talking about there was so important. Like, you have to change your thoughts. You have to change what you're saying to yourself. You have to change your self-talk. You have to change what you're saying to others in order to, be the kind of person that God wants you to be. And I embedded that in myself, and
Yes.
I used to listen to positive mental attitude tapes, in the car, cassettes back in the day, not 8-tracks. I had those too way back in the day, but regular
Yeah.
cassettes. And I had my 3 little kids in the car,
Mhm.
and they listened to them too.
Yeah.
So some of those things, I think, as you grow, you learn to change how you want to look at life and how you want to look at yourself, or the kinds of things that you want to be and do can change by your thoughts. And so, Hicks and all those guys, they went to town with that whole concept of, changing your thoughts and asking for things and asking it is given and all that.
Yes.
And I think that it really does always start with thought. What are you thinking about? Like, are you even paying attention to what you're thinking about?
Mhm.
Because
Exactly.
people don't.
No.
They don't even think about what they're thinking about, or they think they can't change what they're thinking. Yes, you can. You can change your mind anytime. You can change what you're thinking anytime. Change it. Make a decision to consciously change it. And if you have to do affirmations for a while, I used to do affirmations in the mirror, looking at myself in the eye.
So important. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You got this. You can do this.
Yeah.
Encouraging yourself, because many people did not have parents that encouraged them.
No.
And so that made, or if you were raised in a school where you were taught to sit down, shut up, not, speak when spoken to, you didn't have a
Right.
voice. And so you felt less than. Many people were raised in guilt and shame, which is a low vibrational level. And what we have to do, it's work. We have to work to
It's work.
shift it for ourselves. And oftentimes my clients will come and say, well, can you fix me? Well, no, I can fix no one. I can be a coach for you. And I liken it to going to the gym to get some muscles, to get some new brain muscles. You can't do it once or twice. You have to continuously take ownership and shift and to work at
It's
recreating a new thoughts, new world, new words, new life.
So it's really about a daily practice,
Yes,
right?
it is.
So a daily practice is something you do, like brushing your teeth,
Yes.
washing your face. If you do those things every day, pretty much you're going to have pretty good teeth and probably a clean face. But if you start changing your thoughts and you change them and do them as a daily practice, so I used to do tapping. I still do
Yes.
sometimes.
Yeah.
And I would use all the affirmations.
Mhm.
I felt like I was tapping them into myself.
Yes.
So I felt like those were the things that I need to do as a daily practice. And I do still do them as a daily practice most days. And there's other things I do on a daily practice, but
Yes.
that is something that I think is so important because you have to, whatever you're doing, well, they say it takes 28 days to change a habit, right?
Absolutely.
So if you do it for 28 days, you'll probably do it for the rest of your life if you
That's
like
right.
it and you like the results.
Yes.
So I think that is so important to change it to a daily habit of whatever that it is, for yourself.
And I call it spiritual hygiene. It's
There
the
you go.
same thing.
Yeah.
You're going to brush your teeth. You're going to wash your face. You need to do your spiritual hygiene in the morning as well. And
Yeah.
and it's really important. And you're exactly right. The more you do it, the more comfortable. The more it becomes second nature.
It's embedded in you.
It's embedded. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what we
I
need.
love it.
Because if we shift ourselves, we cannot change another person, but
Right.
we can change ourselves, and then that changes how we interact with another person. And that's what's key, is then we recognize when someone else is stuck in their muck and we don't respond the same way we used to,
Yeah.
which then empowers them to look at themselves, maybe. But if we just send them love, send them light, and kind of push them away. I've learned to not embrace people who are toxic anymore. If someone is in a toxic space, I limit my toxic exposure to chemicals, to, even going outside. If there's a lot of chemtrails out there, I'm even cautious about going out there. This is horrible. But nature is one of the biggest healers. However, it's being toxified, if that's a word, as well. So I'm becoming very, very aware of my environment, of the people around me, the places, everything, because I really want to surround myself with positive energy. And words have energy. They have vibrational energy. That was the water experiment that Dr. Emoto did.
Right.
And a lot of people I know will actually, and I've known this for years, they will say love, love, love into their water, or healing, or whatever into the water they drink, or sometimes even write it down and tape it on the side of their water pitcher, because it changes the molecular structure. What we think and say is what we are. That's the resonance. And it actually has a completely different resonant frequency than the hate, anger, despair.
And when it raises it up, it's like all ships rise, right?
Right.
You can bring all the people around you up as well.
Exactly. And it's because we are being more buoyant, other people will kind of get on the ark, as I say. Other people will start to do the same thing, and that's what we want to invite people. Never mandate. Oh, let's don't even go there. But it's all about inviting and showing by way of example, and then allowing people to shift for themselves.
Those that want to will be attracted to it.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
They're going to want to be there.
Right.
Wherever there is.
Yeah.
And that's what shifts it too, is like you look at the whole big picture. So when the tide rises, all ships rise, right? So then that vibrational energy can do the same thing. It can be a tidal wave as well. It can be a tsunami for that matter.
Right.
So that there has to be a big change, and these shifts that are happening now and the shifts that are going to happen will shift more people to the places where they are of love and light. They are of a higher vibration. They are of a feeling of, we can do this. We can do this.
And the more of us that do this together, we will create this tsunami across the world. That's why we started this 8 at 8. It doesn't matter what you say. Just shift your energy for 1 to 8 minutes. Think of something that gives you joy. Send a little bit of love to wherever, and that will shift your energy just that little tiny moment in time, and we will all start the wave together.
Right. And that's the ripple effect, right?
Yes, exactly.
And it just keeps rippling around the world.
And that's exactly what we need to do, because we are all one together. We are, as we're those individual drops in that sea of the ocean, but we're all connected in so many ways.
Yeah.
And I wanted to also mention that you hold holistic expos. and I was invited to be at one of your expos, and it was lovely. So I just want to make sure people are aware of some of the things that you do. I love that we're talking about gratitude, but I'm grateful for the work you're doing because you're supporting holistic practitioners. You have a holistic network. You provide expos. You also provide religious exemptions for people
Yes.
who are looking for it.
Yes.
This is important for people to know about Shirley Bloethe. And how do they get a hold of you? ShirleyBloethe.com. Spell that for us, please.
Yeah, that's a tough one, right?
It will be on the website. It will be on the
Okay.
YouTube channel. So,
Okay, yeah. Well, Shirley is spelled the traditional way, like Shirley Temple. Shirley,
Yes.
Shirley.
Yep.
But the last name is a little tricky because a lot of people miss one of the E's because there's two of them in there. But it's B as in boy, Loe, T like Tom, He. So ShirleyBloethe.com.
Beautiful.
Or pass it on, LLC.com. So I
Okay.
pass it on. Whatever the good stuff is, I'm passing it on.
Yeah. Thank you for the work you do.
I love what I do. And I am happy to do that for people because of my beliefs about, certain things. And if those are aligning with yours, I'm happy to provide whatever help I can for people. And you know what? In this world, anything that you do that's of good intention, I know you always hear that saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, but I do still believe that good intentions are a key piece of how we bring about healing, how we bring about love and light, how we bring about the positivity in life that it can offer us. So I think that good intentions kind of start there.
And if you start every day with good intentions, it's really fun to see how the day unfolds. And then in the evening, as you're drifting off to sleep, you look for all the good things that happened. And then your mind can drift off into a very peaceful sleep. Instead of ruminating over the woulda, shoulda, couldas, we can look back at all the wonderful little beautiful things that happened. And then we can sleep in peace.
And they're there every day.
They are.
Those things happen every single day. Yesterday, I could probably name 10 things that were just amazing.
Yep.
So, oh, that's so cool, when it happens. You
Absolutely.
just recognize it, thank,
yes, with
thank
gratitude.
everybody and part of it as being part of it. And it's wonderful. It's a wonderful way to feel grateful for your life every day. And not like, oh, poor me or woe is me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not in that mindset as much as, there's times I miss all the people in my life that have passed on.
Yeah.
I just know that that energy continues, that spirit continues, and that I'm so glad I'm a spiritualist.
Yes.
I came into that before this happened in my life. And so I was so slowly, sent this path so that I would be okay. I think that's how that kind of happens. If you look back on it, you just recognize wow, this happened, that happened, and now I'm here.
And Shirley, tell
life
us a
is
little
lived
bit
forward and understood backward, right?
Say that again. I'm sorry to interrupt.
I'm sorry, I cut into you. I apologize. I says life is lived forward but understood backwards.
That's an interesting concept. It truly
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted you to tell people about your church, about the Love and Light Church, and that I was actually a guest there online.
Yes.
So people around the country, world, whatever, can join this lovely community. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Many people
Sure.
don't understand what a spiritualist church is.
Sure. Spiritualist Church, there's actually formal organizations of the National Spiritualists, and then there's others that are just spiritualists. And so we are one of those, and we do believe in, all the positive things about spirituality, I'll say. And yes, we are online every week, as well as being in person the first and third Sunday. So today I am heading to church after this talk with you, and we have somebody coming in doing a sound healing. So people can actually join us in physical form on the first and third Sundays in Farmington, Connecticut. But we also are online. If you go to the Spiritualist Church of Love and Light, there's a link there on the Facebook page. And you can just join us via Zoom and enjoy our service. And you can also get on our email list so you know who's coming up next. And when we have somebody from, another part of the world or another part of the country, it's wonderful now because of the pandemic, literally, that this option has opened up to us, whereas previous we were just in person only, and that was that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Spiritualist Church of Love and Light. You probably have to Google that. I'm not sure what our
Or
exact
DuckDuckGo
Facebook
it.
page is. DuckDuckGo it. Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. I don't
Search it.
Google it anymore, but
I don't either.
still use that phrase
Yeah,
sometimes
I
by
know.
mistake.
See, isn't that one of those things that's gotten
It's-
stuck? Yeah,
It's like a Q-tip. You know what I mean? It's not a cotton swab. It's a Q-tip. So
that's right. Yeah, or Kleenex, tissue.
or a Band-Aid.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
So yes, we would love for people to join us. If you need to get in touch with me, you can email me at shirleybloethe@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to add you to our email list that comes out from our chairman of the board, Cheryl. And so, each week is always something very fascinating and interesting, and I loved your talk because it was about hope also,
Yeah.
and the Chronicles. And as I'm reading through the book, I'm feeling you and Gary in that book.
Yeah,
It's
good.
such a wonderful thing to really be in the book. Like, I'm in the book when I read a book. That's why I like a
Wow.
hard copy on
Yeah.
a book. I don't want to read it on a Kindle or anything.
Right.
So I truly am enjoying so far book one.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Yep.
Well, we are on a mission. We all are. And so people can listen to our Inspiring Hope radio show at 9:00, and then they
Yeah,
can
we start at
switch
10:30.
over at 10:30 and join the Spiritualist Church, so that they'll have a full inspired Sunday, which is part of what we do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, we have a normal service just like most churches do with, hands-on healing, which we do not so much in person anymore, but we have a healing book, and we use the chat, as needed. And we have different people, like today's Fred coming in with sound healing. He was actually
Nice.
the guy who did it at the expo.
Yeah,
that you
he was
probably saw.
amazing. Yeah.
He's a very wonderful person. And then we also have a part where people actually get a message, spirit message. It's the last half hour of the service is spirit messages from whoever the guest speaker is. So it's wonderful that we have so many opportunities to bring it far and wide, so to speak, where we didn't have that before.
Right.
And as much as I don't like Zoom, I prefer everything in person.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that piece of it because I'm staying to look at the positive of it and how that has transformed. Our church grew like threefold during the year and a half that we switched over, So obviously for the first year or so, we were only on Zoom. And then we started back in person about 5 or 6 months ago, I think it is. So we're fortunate that we meet in a location that can do that for us, and we can broadcast from there, so to speak. And I'm grateful that all these things have come about as a new way for people to be reached, to send the positive message that spirit is there, guardian angels are there, conscious ones are there. There are people who are in your world that you're maybe not touching base with yet, but that if you open up to it, they will talk to you. They will give you messages. They will allow you to have a fulfilling life and be happy every day and have that gratitude that, there's more than what we see, right?
Absolutely.
There's always more than what we see. And so if you open yourself up to that, it will show up and it will be there for you and it will help you on your journey. We're here for a limited part of time on our physical plane, but we're here forever as a spirit. So why not connect in with those that can help you on this journey, and to be more positive is part of it. And that's how you can raise the vibration, and all people can live in a beautiful, enchanting world when they choose to.
And when we're surrounded by others of like mind that have that open heart and willingness to connect with spirit, that's key.
Yeah, and it really does raise the vibration, so it's a wonderful, on every level, Yeah.
Thank you for what you do. And you also have this holistic community of professionals. And you have people from Connecticut, New Hampshire, Vermont, Rhode Island, New York. So people holistic professionals can join this community to be a resource for others in your area, or just to share what people do, right?
Yeah, holisticcommunityprofessionals.org is an organization. It's online as well as obviously those that meet in person and other forms of connections. And
Shirley, we're at the end of our show. I'm
I
sorry
know. We're reference based, so it's really great to be a part of that. And I love the people that are involved in it. They have good integrity.
Thank you so much for sharing
Yep.
with us this morning. Have a wonderful church service.
Thanksgiving.
And for all those who are listening, thank you. And may your week, your Thanksgiving day be blessed. Until we meet again, look up, stay positive, and be the light in someone's day. God bless.